Hello folks, welcome back to my channel. According to the Athletics Shams Charania, Detroit Pistons wing Jerami Grant is one of the NBA's most sought-after players in potential deals as February's trade deadline approaches. This shouldn't come as a surprise, even with Grant sidelined due to torn ligaments in his right thumb. Once Grant is fully healthy, which should be around February anyways, he can provide a huge boost to just about any team that's looking to compete this year. Since taking on more of an expanded role with the Pistons, he has averaged 21.6 points, 4.7 rebounds, 2.7 assists, and 1.1 blocks per game on a respectable 55.2% true shooting percentage. Presumably on a winning team in his next stop, Grant should slide back into the coveted role player spot he thrived in during his stints with the Oklahoma City Thunder and Denver Nuggets. Detroit is 4-21 this season. And no, 1 overall pick Cade Cunningham is beginning to blossom and showcase his superstar upside. With Grant's injury, now is the perfect time to let Cunningham spread his wings even further and recoup some assets for the Pistons' best trade chip. Charania mentioned many teams have been calling Detroit consistently about Grant, including the Los Angeles Lakers and Portland Trail Blazers. So, which teams should be blowing up the Pistons' phone lines trying to acquire a souped-up 3 and D-wing who can fit like a glove on any roster? Let's examine some potential blockbusters revolving around Grant. The Detroit Pistons find themselves in last place in the NBA, and they're reportedly open to trading their best player, forward Jerami Grant, per the Athletics Shams Charania. Although he'll be sidelined for a month due to a thumb injury, Grant can move the needle for an NBA playoff hopeful. In his year plus with the Pistons, Grant has grown into a highly productive two-way player. He's getting points both in the paint and off the dribble, serving as a leading source of offense while holding his own on the other end of the floor. Given the player he has become, Grant could be an impactful complementary scorer on a playoff team. Former Syracuse forward Jerami Grant has been named a top 100 player in the NBA. According to Sports Illustrated, Wu is counting down the top 100 players in the league and released numbers 51-100 on Monday. Grant came in at number 79 after signing a big free agent contract with the Detroit Pistons following a strong 2-year run with the Denver Nuggets. Here is what C's Ben Pickman said about Grant. Jerami Grant enters the season as one of the most interesting players to watch throughout the league. After playing 26.6 minutes per game largely as a reserve with the Nuggets, the versatile forward signed a 3-year, $60 million deal with the Pistons this offseason. According to the Denver Post's Mike Singer, the Nuggets vowed to work with Grant and develop him more as a player, even offering him a similar deal. Nuggets president of basketball operations Tim Connolly later said publicly that the team was under the assumption we should get something done, but Pistons first-year general manager Troy Weaver said Grant was their top priority. And Grant said at his introductory Pistons press conference that the challenge of Detroit intrigued him. The 26-year-old will look to become a more complete player with the Pistons. He has proved to be a versatile defender and has shot nearly 40% from 3 in each of his past 2 seasons. However, it remains to be seen whether the former second-round pick can grow into a go-to scorer or merely a solid role player for years to come. Jerami Grant cemented himself last season as the go-to guy for the Detroit Pistons and a bona fide starter, and has kept it going this season for the most part. He is a threat on both ends and has helped Cade Cunningham carry what is otherwise a hopeless team. Last season, the only area of complaint was his rebounding. Other than that, he was in as a good, solid, all-around player who emerged as the veteran leader on a young team with aspirations in the near future. For better or worse, the Trail Blazers appear intent on competing in the Western Conference with Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum leading the way. Given that mindset, Grant fits Portland's timeline. When healthy, Portland has plenty of wing scoring in Lillard, McCollum, and Norman Powell. They need a legitimate front-court scoring option. Grant would benefit from the attention the star guards attract while adding a new dimension to the team's offense. He can score inside and outside and be a difference maker without the ball in his hands. If an injury occurs in the backcourt, Grant can take on a larger role in head coach Chauncey Billups' offense. Furthermore, Grant can be the center at the end of games depending on the opponent. All the while, he's accustomed to competing in the playoffs, as he was at least a rotation player for the Denver Nuggets and Oklahoma City Thunder over the last 5 years. Jerami Grant stats: 20.1 points, 4.8 rebounds, and 2.6 assists per game while shooting 41, 433rd, 184.9. Portland is continually trying to exercise its playoff demons. Having individuals who are familiar with such play is paramount. As it concerns a trade, they bypass the growth of Simmons and Little for the sake of acquiring a player in his prime. From the Pistons' perspective, They get players who add youthful depth to their rotation, as well as a future first-rounder, which could be used for another trade. All that said, a trade could be impeded by the Trail Blazers feeling they don't have the depth to move on from 3 players for 1. The Kings' future is a guessing game, but let's say they aspire to make the playoffs this season. The swap of players in their late 22nd balances out Sacramento's roster. Hield has been a prime trade candidate for 2 years, especially with the team having young guards like De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, and Davion Mitchell. Grant gives them a productive, lengthy forward. Both Grant and Richaun Holmes can score in a variety of ways inside the paint while Fox runs the show, and Halliburton gets clean looks from the perimeter. With Grant being under contract for a year and a half, the Kings can experiment with this grouping. Worst case scenario, they trade Grant in the offseason or the season that follows. They literally have nothing to lose. Hield would be a compelling fit in Detroit. Cade Cunningham and Killian Hayes figure to be the team's backcourt for the foreseeable future. Hield would be a wing shooter, scorer who stretches the floor for Cunningham and Hayes to attack the basket. The former Sooner would have the chance to start a new chapter of his NBA career as the scorer in his prime who helps a rebuilding Pistons team. A 5-man unit of Cunningham, Hayes, Hield, Saddiq Bey, and Isaiah Stewart isn't too shabby. The factor that could stop Hield from landing in the Motor City, however, is the Pistons wanting payroll flexibility this upcoming offseason. Hield is in the second season of a 4-year, $94 million deal. His last 5 games have shown that he can be an all-around weapon, as he has improved in some areas of weakness from last season. This season his numbers have been close to his near all-star numbers last year, but he's been sharing the ball more, and with the addition of Cunningham has had less pressure to win on his own. This season, rebounding is still an area he's struggled in. His 4.7 rebounds per game still place him 85th of 130 out of all forwards who have started at least a game at the position. He is 31st in the entire league in scoring and is 112th in the league in shooting percentage, although that number includes several players who only get garbage time minutes. He is only averaging 2.5 assists per game, which could stand to improve. But as a power forward, there are larger concerns. The main concern is his rebounding and overall lack of aggressive play. His rebounding and overall defense have not improved. His rebounding remains stagnant at just 4.7 a game, and his defensive rating has moved from 113.9 last season to 110.1 this season, which is still below the league average. There has been some recent improvement. Over his last 5 games, his rebounding numbers have gone up to 6 per game. His defensive numbers have dropped slightly, but given that the Detroit Pistons played the Bucks, both Los Angeles teams, the Blazers, and Heat during that time, that's not surprising. All of those teams are in the playoff hunt, so perhaps the Pistons were simply out of their league. It's a small sample size, but the last 5 games Jerami Grant has been better on the boards against some top NBA teams. If he can continue putting up better all-around numbers, the Detroit Pistons will feel more comfortable signing him to a long-term deal. But it's still possible that Grant will be on the move. This is all for today, folks. If you enjoyed this video, then leave a like, and if you are new, then don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned for the future updates. See you till the next video. Thank you for watching.